You are live now.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, students. I welcome you all to this final class of this particular subject that is termed British Poetry and Drama, 14th to 17th century. So yesterday's class did not happen because of certain technical problems. This is the fourth unit, and in this unit we shall be talking about Twelfth Night, written by William Shakespeare. So this is a play, this is a drama. Don't be confused about it. This is a play, this is not a novel or a poem. So this is almost the final play of this syllabus, and it's a comedy. Comedy means something that produces laughter and has an effect of humor. So let's look at the description of Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. I hope the screen is visible to each one of you. If you face any problem or if you have any questions, you can ask them in the Q&A section of this particular platform. And I also hope that by now you have read the poems, also the unit of Chaucer, and also the unit on Dr. Faustus. If you have any questions on the previous units, you can ask those questions as well. Because today is the last class of this particular subject. So Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. Shakespeare by far is the greatest dramatist, the greatest poet, the greatest writer of English literature. In fact, the recognition of English literature is by far is because of the presence of William Shakespeare. And there's an introduction, like each unit has been introduced in a particular way. So this particular unit has also been introduced, and this module has been shown in a particular manner. So please follow what is being said in the introduction. This module introduces the students to the world of Elizabethan England. Elizabethan England was a time when Queen Elizabeth was ruling over England, and Shakespeare's place in Elizabethan literature. It situates Shakespeare's play within the social, political, historical, and cultural context of Elizabethan England, analyzing how these aspects influence his writings. So as you know that William Shakespeare was a great dramatist, had written a number of plays, amongst which William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night is also very, very important. Apart from that, he has written a number of tragedies like Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear, and other things. And he has also written a number of comedies. Comedies means something that is light, something that produces laughter, something that uses humor. And Twelfth Night is one of the well-known and best-known comedies of William Shakespeare. Charting the origins and sources of Twelfth Night, the module discusses several important themes and issues. First, the title of the play, the representation of love, significant characterization, cross-dressing, homoerotic love, class and social mobility, and lastly, the comic resolution of the play. So we'll talk about the play in general and also discuss the different characters and how different things have been presented in this. So historical context of the Elizabethan age, it's not important to read. Elizabethan age was from the time 1558 to 1603. The rule was of Queen Elizabeth, for whom it is considered to be the golden age of England. And of course, William Shakespeare was the most important dramatist, along with Christopher Marlowe, Philip Sidney, Edmund Spenser, and Francis Bacon. All of them belong to this age, and some of them have written poetry, whose poetry you have read in Unit 2, and some of the plays like Dr. Faustus you have read in the previous section or the previous classes. The first English comedy, Ralph Royster by Nicholas Udall, and the first English tragedy, Gorboduc by Thomas Norton and Sackville, appeared during the time of 1550s and 60s. So it was a time of huge expansion. It was a time of great development. It was a time of great literary output. So the best form of English literature was produced during this time of Elizabethan age, with William Shakespeare, who was part of this age. And William Shakespeare till date is considered to be the most eminent author of English literature. Elizabethan Stage, during this time, you remember, novel was not written during this time. It was mostly poetry and plays that people used to read and people used to watch. So most of these plays that were being written were also staged. They were also performed on the stage. So that was also an There were two main types of theaters in London. ओपन एयर थिएटर जो खुले होते थे जहां बैठ के लोग थिएटर देखा करते थे प्रैक्टिस किया करते थे such as the theater, the Globe. These are very famous, well-known theaters which were part of the Elizabethan England in 1599 and the Swan in 1595. There were some private theaters as well. Private theater meant that people who were rich and people who had close connections to the court had access to these kind of theaters. The Blackfriars and the Cockpit, 1596 and 1616. With greater advancement and development in the field of theatre, fears of rioting and rebellion also grew. Theatres assembled a large number of people at the same time, which provoked fears about revolt and plotting against the monarchy. So all these things were part of theatre. The national life, the royal life, the queen, who was an important person, queen herself was very much interested in theatre and performance and acting and all that. So all these things formed a lot of things within this kind of ideas. So mostly scandals, mostly what happened in the Royal Society were part of theatrical life. Then you have Shakespeare's life and biography. You don't need to get into all of that. Just remember that he was born in 1564 and he passed away in 1660. That is all that you need to read. Shakespearean comedy, I have already told you that Shakespearean comedy is something that produces laughter effect, that uses disguise, that uses mistaken identities or misunderstandings, which creates confusion and also along with that laughter. Twelfth Night or What You Will. This is the second title of Twelfth Night or the subtitle of Twelfth Night. So written and performed around 1601, 1602. This was the time when Twelfth Night was written and also along with that it was performed. As I said, that plays were written at the same time and also performed by different actors. Shakespeare himself was a great actor. Remember, he began his life as a theatre actor and later he became a writer. So Twelfth Night is believed to have been drawn from wide variety of sources. So he has been inspired by various Italian play kind of named Deceived, which talks about mistaken identity. Barnaby Rich's English story Apollonius and Scylla in Farewell of Military Profession in 1581. And John Manningham also noted the association of the comic play of Plautus's Machine, a Latin source for Shakespeare's own play, The Comedy of Errors. तो इसमें क्या होता है कि identities change हो जाते हैं and that creates confusion and that becomes a problem and also it creates a lot of laughter and humoristic effects. Why is the title called Twelfth Night? Twelfth Night is described here. The title Twelfth Night I hope you all can hear me. There was a network error again. I hope you all can see the screen again. So as I was talking about the title of 12th Night, or what you will, it says a number of titles. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I hope that it's visible again, all of you. So 12th night, the particular text has a number of understandings. So 25th December, you all know that it's the birth date of Jesus Christ. And 12th night is something that is 25 plus 12, which is 6th January. So 6th January was the time when the 12th day after Christmas, when Christ's divinity was really revealed to the three magi. The three kings or three wise men who had come when Jesus Christ was born, and a reference to that, the 12th night is the time of the 6th January, the 12th day after Jesus Christ was born, and followed the star of Bethlehem and came to visit Jesus as a child, bringing gifts for him. The day supposedly marks the end of Christmas holiday season and the beginning of the carnival season. The 12th night is the day which marks the end of the Christmas holiday season, which ends the Christmas holiday season ends on this particular day, and it begins the carnival season. It's the beginning of the carnival season. It is celebrated universally with the appointment of a lord of misrule and inversion of hierarchies. So during this time, people celebrate a lot of things. People become same and people change their own ideas. Men and women would dress in up in the opposite. So men would dress as women would dress as men as part of a kind of carnivalist practice. In the opposite, servants would take the place of their masters and so on. So servants would become masters, masters would become servants. All are part of this English conventional society. They used to do this as a part of carnival spirit. They used to follow this as part of the carnival spirit. It was in general a period of mischief, masking, merrymaking, and metamorphosis. It was a period of mischief, masking. People used to wear masks, not these masks that we wear today, but masks covering the face, merrymaking and metamorphosis. So on the basis of that, festive spirit is the basis of the play. That when identities get changed, when men become women, women become men, and many things change. So the play also carries that kind of an identity. So let's look at the text now. We have already talked about a lot about the things, and now we have come to the text. Remember, all plays are divided into acts and scenes, just like novels have chapters. Similarly, plays have acts and scenes. So the first act, when the curtain goes up and we see on the stage there are a number of characters. The first act opens with Duke Orsino listening to a group of musical performers and meditating on the nature of love and desire. So he's listening to a song that is themed around the idea of love and desire. Posturing himself as a passionate lover, he remarks on love as swift and lively and full of constantly changing moods and emotions. Posturing himself as a passionate lover, he remarks on love as swift and lively and full of constantly changing moods and emotions. His changing moods are reflecting in his shifting desire to listen to music one moment and stop the very next. With his attendant, curio is attendant. Attendant का मतलब है a person who is working under this particular duke. Duke is like a king. A king is known as a duke. D-U-K-E. Also, ask him about going to hunt. Orsino puns on the word heart and overturns the Petrarchan image of the beloved as heart, which is a deer, and lover as hunter. Another attendant, Valentine, enters a few moments later to give him news about his object of affection, Olivia. The news contains information about Olivia being still in mourning about her dead brother and refusing to see anyone. Orsino, however, refuses to accept defeat and takes it as a positive sign for an infinite capacity to love. So first character we have is Duke Orsino, who is very sad because our wife, the Duchess Olivia, is not reciprocating to his emotions, not reciprocating to his own ideas. So that is why he is sad, because Olivia is not responding to his love, to his feelings of love. Why is Olivia not responding? Because Olivia's brother has passed away and she is in a kind of a mourning state. She's sad. So she is not responding to the deal. Scene 2 introduces us to Viola. The next scene, we get an introduction to Viola. Viola comes in front of us. She is a shipwrecked lady on the coast of Illyria. She is a shipwrecked lady, which means someone who was part going in a ship, but that ship suddenly meets a storm or something else, and that ship goes away. The ship is lost in the sea. That is something that means shipwrecked. Introduces us to Viola, a shipwrecked lady on the coast of Illyria. Separated from her twin brother Sebastian, Viola has been saved by a sea captain. She is anxious about the fate of her brother, but the captain comforts her by telling her about the sight of Sebastian binding himself to strong mast and perhaps surviving. Now you have the second set of characters. You have Viola, who has been separated from his twin brother. Twin means someone who looks same, Sebastian. So we have two other characters, Viola and Sebastian, who have been separated from each other because there was an accident in the ship and they got separated from each other. So when this accident happens, this lady called Viola somehow reaches this place of Illyria. So Illyria is the same place where the Duke is present there. He also offers her support in the time of crisis by giving her information about Duke of Illyria, who is courting the Countess of Olivia at present. Olivia has lost both her father and brother and renounces the sight of all men. Since Olivia will admit no one in her company, Viola decides to serve the Duke. This guy as a so because Viola has lost her identity, Viola has not been able to do anything. So Viola decides that she will work under the Duke and will work as a maid. She changes her makeup and she is up with Viola to see identity of identity, how identities are mixed and how identities gradually change. It begins with Sir Toby, another set of characters. Try to remember the set of characters here. Another set of characters. Within Act 1, 2, 3, we have three sets of characters. Scene 3 begins with Sir Toby and Olivia's kinsman. Sir Toby is Olivia's kinsman. It's kind of an uncle. Olivia, remember the same women whom the Duke wants to have a relationship with, but she is not responding properly. So scene 3 begins with Sir Toby, who is Olivia's uncle. He's engaged in a confrontation with Maria, Olivia's female attendant, about his transgression of norms of decent behavior. So Maria is Olivia's servant or attendant, and Sir Toby is the uncle of Olivia. You can see the connections now. Maria informs Toby about how Olivia doesn't take kindly to his drinking and staying late at night, while Toby, in turn, doesn't understand his niece's excessive grieving. The conversation then turns to Sir Andrew Aguecheek. Andrew Aguecheek is another character, a knight and friend of Toby's, whom he has proposed as suitor for Olivia. So everyone wants to get uh, into a relation or wants to marry Olivia. Here there is another character. The Duke was already there, the Duke Orsino. Here another character, Andrew Aguecheek, who has been brought by Sir Toby so that Olivia could get married to Sir Andrew Aguecheek. He's a knight and a friend of Toby. Toby exaggerates his friend qualities. Exaggerate means बहुत बड़ा चढ़ा के बोलो. He is very handsome, he has a lot of money, his musical ability and his gift of language. However, all these are exposed as empty claims when Sir Andrew himself intervenes in the scene and comes across as a dumb and foolish knight. So he comes across as a dumb and foolish knight. He's actually not smart and not so good. He can understand no word of Maria's banter and ends up being mocked and jeered. After Maria leaves the scene, Andrew himself admits to lacking wit or any chance with Olivia. Toby, however, who is more interested in wringing money out of his rich friend, somehow convinces him to stay for another month to try his luck with Olivia. So everyone is engaged in a kind of a relationship making, and also the factor of money has been played out here. So you can see three set of characters introduced in three different scenes. The first is Duke Orsino, who's trying to marry or profess his love for for Olivia. Second is the twin brother sister Sebastian and Viola, who have been separated from each other. Third is of course Sir Toby, Olivia's uncle, and how he is trying to create a matchmaking for his niece and bringing characters like Andrew Aguecheek. In the fourth scene, I would all ask you to read the fourth scene. What happens in the fourth scene? Just read the next paragraph. Everyone, please read the next paragraph, after which I shall take a few questions and then move ahead. I'm giving you 2 minutes here. Please read quickly. Everyone, please read that particular paragraph. I hope by now all of you have read it. Let's look at the next scene. Now another set of characters will be introduced. All are connected to Olivia in one form or the other. The next scene introduces us to the character of Feste, the witty fool. There's also a fool, but sometimes this fool is shown to be as a very witty person, as a very wise person, compared to in comparison to the persons who declare themselves as very, very wise. Maria questions him about his disappearance from Olivia's household, but he avoids the question by instead engaging in double entendre. Olivia and Malvolio, her steward, enter a little while later and exhibit varying attitudes to the fool. While Olivia marvels at his wit, Malvolio regards her as a fool for laughing at Feste's dry jests. Olivia protests and chastises Malvolio for being sick of self-love. So another set of characters. Feste is a fool. Malvolio is the steward of Olivia, someone who lives in the household of Olivia. During that time, Maria intervenes. Remember, Maria is the attendant of Olivia to inform Olivia about the young gentleman at the gate desirous of speaking to her, assuming to be another suit because everyone wants to get married to her. From Duke Orsino, Olivia sends Malvolio to quickly dismiss him. The gentleman, however, refuses to budge from the gate until he speaks with her. Her curiosity is intrigued when Malvolio describes him as someone not old enough for a man, not young enough for a boy. So this is the same person who has come in disguise. This is Viola, who has come in disguise as a man. So I said that in this play, there's a mixture of all traits. Men become women, women become men, and the master becomes servant, servant becomes a master, and things like this carry on because it happens in the carnival. Carnival mein hamesha there's a mixture. There's a element of magic, the element of enjoyment and mixing of identity. She conceals her face with a veil and agrees to meet him alone. Unlike Orsino, who is studied and artificial in the protestations of love, Cesario, and the new name of Viola, the young gentleman is spontaneous and prompt and instantly catches Olivia's attention. He convinces Olivia to reveal her face and with his ardent statements expresses the depths of love. He bewitches her by describing the extent to which he would go if he loved her as much as the Duke. This first meeting between Cesario and Olivia reaches an unintended. Now remember, it's so funny because both of them are women and one is trying to express the love for the other one. This first meeting between Cesario and Olivia achieves an unintended objective as it leaves Olivia falling prey to the charms of the young and handsome gentleman of the Duke's court. So much is she impressed that she quickly invents a ruse to meet him again by sending Malvolio after him to give back a ring that she claims he left and providing reasons for her refusal if he comes again the next day. So this is how it happens that a kind of a love relation starts between two women, which is Cesario and Olivia. Cesario actually is Viola. This is why the funny element starts here. Now I'll take a pause here and ask each one of you if you have any questions. You can ask your questions in the Q&A section. If you have any questions, please ask in the Q&A section. I hope the Q&A section is visible to me. Yes, please ask. I hope I can see the Q&A section. Please ask your questions. Yes. Yes, someone has pointed out Olivia was not the wife of Duke Orsino. That's right. She was the beloved. True. That's true. Classes that have been cancelled I have to check if there are extra slots. We can have some extra classes, but mostly there are no extra classes. Do ask questions if you have at this point of time. Please ask your questions. You have 2 minutes again. Yes, SOL material is enough for the exam. You can read it. Yes, Olivia is attracted to Cesario's charm, and at the end, she got to know that she is a girl named Viola, not Viola, Viola. Yes, that's true. She changed her name from Viola to Cesario because she changed her identity as well from a female to a male. So if you are changing your identity from a female to a male, you also need to change your name. Okay. Any more questions? You have 1 minute. So now let's begin with the second act. Let's see what happens in Act 2. Act 2 begins with a parting scene between Sebastian and his rescuer Antonio, a sea captain. So Sebastian, remember, and Viola, this sister and brother, had been separated from each other, but now they appear again. Now the Sebastian is the brother who has been also rescued, just like Viola. Sebastian is also alive. Antonio has rescued him. We get to know that Sebastian was living under the refuge of Antonio for months until the moment when he decided to take leave. Unlike the parting scene between Viola and the sea captain in the first act, this scene was more ardent and intense. Antonio entreats Sebastian to stay with him and let him accompany. You see, a kind of a bond of love between males, a bond of love between females have also been shown here. But Sebastian refuses to let his unfavorable fate affect his friend. Before leaving, however, he does provide some background information about the real name, his family, and his being bound for Orsino's court. So he now wants to look for his sister. In scene 2, we see Malvolio going up to Cesario to return the ring as instructed in the previous act. Cesario doesn't reveal his suspicions about the ring in front of Malvolio and pretends to have given the ring to Olivia. However, once Malvolio leaves, Viola, as Cesario, meditates on the nature of disguise and wonders if Olivia had indeed fallen in love with him. She muses upon the complex and tangled web of disguise. Disguise means fake identity like a child. In a disguise as a man, Viola can never aspire to Orsino's love, whereas as a woman, Olivia's love for her will never be realized. So because society will never accept the love between two women, so they are in a bit of a problem. I'll skip a bit, everything is not required to be read here. So I move on to the third act. Third act begins with a sparkling conversation between Cesario and Feste. Remember Cesario, Viola, and Feste the fool. Feste, someone who creates magic, and through his dressing and all that, he gives a comic sense. That is why it is a comedy. We all laugh here. In his usual witty manner, Feste turns the meaning of every question posed by Cesario and answers in a manner he deems fit. He ends by comparing husbands to fools, and Cesario generously tips him. Viola, as Cesario, also makes an accurate summing of Feste's character by remarking on his wit, observance, and astuteness. So often it happens in Shakespeare's plays that the person we call a fool appears to be the most wise person. That is why they have been introduced here. Cesario announces his arrival and requests to speak alone with Olivia. Now, I would ask everyone to read scene 4 here. We are almost going towards the closure of it. So everyone, please read the line that starts with scene 4. Just read one paragraph. After that, I will explain and then move on to the next act so that we can complete the text easily and talk about other things. So scene 4 starts with Olivia. Please read this particular paragraph. I'm again giving you 2 minutes, so read it quickly. Okay, I hope you all have read it by now. So I'm just skipping a bit. These are all summaries which you can also read. I don't think so. It is important for me to read. I'm just going to the final act. It's the fifth act. Fifth act begins with Fabian asking Feste for Malvolio's letter, but the letter refusing. Duke Orsino enters with Cesario and his other attendants and asks to see the lady of the house. Meanwhile, Antonio also arrives and with some officers, and Orsino instantly recognizes him as the man who fought valiantly against him in the sea battle and did damage to their ships. His nephew also lost a leg in the ensuing battle. Cesario adds that he had been saved by Antonio, but did not understand his strange behavior later. Antonio explains that he exposed himself to dangers of Cesario's sake and tended after him for 3 whole months. Orsino protests that Cesario had been in his employ for all these months. Olivia also enters in this stage and increases the comedy of mistaken identities. Remember, someone has become something, someone has become a woman, someone has become a man, and it has created a comedy and laughter effect. When she sees Cesario still serving as an attendant of the Duke, when she wishes to speak to her husband, Duke Orsino still attempts to woo her and break her rigidity and coldness. When she sees that she's showering more attention on Cesario, he's enraged and threatens to kill the latter. Cesario is ready to become the victim to be sacrificed and follows the Duke. Olivia later addresses Cesario as her husband and pleads him to stop. So all funny things happening here. Orsino is shocked to hear the words and accuses Cesario of being ungrateful to him because he is also confused. Olivia produces the priest who married them as a proof of their wedding. Sebastian enters a few moments later, and it is for the first time that we see the brother sister together on stage, Viola and Sebastian. All the assembled characters express surprise at two similar looking men with one face, one voice, one habit. Remember, they were twins, so the sister and the brother almost look the same. Sebastian thinks about his sister but still can't recognize Viola in his masculine attire because Viola is dressed as Cesario. Uh, Viola uh, clears the confusion by confessing that she is indeed a woman in male attire. She is ready to produce the sea captain who rescued her as proof. Orsino, both surprised and happy, wonders if Cesario's statements about loving him were indeed true. Viola accepts that they are, and Orsino then promises to make her his wife when he will see her in his womanly attire. The truth of the matter is still under wraps because sea captain has been arrested at Malvolio's instigation. Malvolio is called upon and the play comes to an end. So let's read here. Called upon and he refers to the letter written by Olivia. She denies having written any such letter and understands it must be Maria's trick. While Malvolio claims he had been wronged and abused, Olivia can only offer him the consolation that he will get justice. Dissatisfied, Malvolio pledges to seek revenge upon the pack. We also informed that Toby has married Maria for the ingenious trick she played. The play ends with 3 unions. So 3 of these people get married. Toby gets married to Maria. Toby is the uncle of Olivia, remember, who gets married to Maria, the attendant of Olivia. Olivia gets married to Sebastian, who is the brother of Viola, remember the handsome man. And Viola gets married to the Duke, who is Duke Orsino. This is how the play ends, which comes towards a happy ending because it's a comedy, so no one dies, no one is killed, there's no sorrow, there's no tears, so everything ends with a happy ending. However, none of the marriages are depicted on the stage. Olivia's fate is also left uncertain. Feste has the final word in the play as he sings a song about the different stages of life. The song reminds us that life is full of struggles, but the actors and the players would strive to please the audience every day. So this is the end. Now we shall discuss the themes of the. But before I start discussing the themes, if you have any questions, please ask in the Q&A section. I'm waiting for the questions in the Q&A section. Please ask your questions. I'm giving you 2 minutes again. waiting for your questions. Please ask your questions. Now let's look at the questions. Fabian is a character. You read the summary of the play, you will understand. So main idea of the play is romance. It is the importance of love in people's life. Why did it look like a twin couple? What kind of question is that? Sebastian and Viola are twin brothers and sisters. That is why they looked like each other. Yes, Viola had changed her identity. What did you follow in the class? Viola had changed her identity and gave herself a new name, Cesare. So according to you, a character like Viola, see, I don't have any answer for this question. Whatever the playwright has written in whatever mind, that cannot be questioned. I don't know why she got married. Have any other questions? Please ask. You have another minute. before I move on to the thematic parts. For writing ideal answers, read all the summaries carefully, look at the previous year's question paper, which is available on SOL website, and prepare accordingly. That's all. Don't write stories, write critically, and it will become very easy for you. Another minute I have to discuss your questions. Then I'll move on to the thematic part. play is a comedy, but the end, Malvolio is not happy and wants to seek revenge. Yeah, so that's fine. The main character is at least happy. We have no more questions. You can move to the thematic part. Central issues of the text or the main part is going to be discussed now. I hope you all can see love in the times of Twelfth Night. So this is the thematic analysis. The opening lines of the play introduce us to the character of lovesick Duke Orsino, consumed by ardent and impetuous desire. Orsino is cast in the mold of a patriarchal lover who pines for an unattainable beloved and focuses on the misery and pain of being in love. The entire cycle of falling in love, wooing the beloved, and getting spurned by her is replicated in the love for the Countess Olivia. So he wants to get the love of Olivia, but he is not getting the love of Olivia. That is a Petrarchan idea. Remember the sonnet writing? The sonnet writing idea comes from this, that you love someone, but you did not get the love in return. Orsino's opening speech emphasizes on freedom from desire through overindulgence. Music for him becomes the appetite on which lovers feed their passion. So this is mainly the idea. The case of Malvolio. Malvolio is another funny character. What I want you to read is the Fool, the Feste, the Fool. Is an important dramatic character. The Fool is an intrinsic element in Elizabethan drama. King Lear भी पढ़ोगे तो उसमें भी एक fool है. These fools have been kept to show us a mirror that they might be fools, but they are very, very knowledgeable people. They know this world better than many others. It was not a new invention, but the tradition dating back to Greek and Roman times. However, the fool's stature rose rapidly in eminence during the Elizabethan age. Fools and jesters were employed by royal courts as entertainers, but also acted as commentators who often mouthed words of insight and wisdom. So they looked like fools, they dressed like fools, they were considered to be fools, they were considered to be people who did not know anything. But they were people, ironically, who knew much more than the other quote unquote normal people. The fool could usually be categorized into two types. The witty fool, one who is very wise, enough to know his folly. Folly means the problem. And through it, dispensing words of erudition. And the natural fool, one who produces laughter through his stupidity and ignorance. Emma Osborne highlights the difference between the two categories and states that the natural fool contrastingly lacks what the licensed fool has in perception and is an idiot without the ability to see beyond the obvious. While both the comedic purpose of making you laugh, but they do not do it differently. So broadly, you need to understand that a fool is a person who dresses like a fool. But ironically, he has been placed here to show that the fool is actually a wise man who has more practical knowledge than any other person in the play. Class and social mobility in Twelfth Night. Now, this is a very important portion. Class and social mobility, read the first paragraph, and then you'll get to understand what Shakespeare is actually talking about in relation to class and social mobility in the. Everyone, please read the first paragraph here. So it's about social dynamics and class. The first instance of this is Valentine's insecurity and skepticism over Cesario's advanced position within the Orsino household. That when someone gets an important position without working hard for it, and how we as social people try to become socially more important. Like you are a middle class person, tomorrow you will always want to buy a new car, buy new clothes, and all the time move upward. So let's move ahead a little bit. Nothing much has to be discussed here. Cross dressing is also one aspect. The ending of Twelfth Night. The ending of Twelfth Night can be characterized as inconclusive and unsatisfactory, as it leaves several problems unresolved. Some problems are not getting resolved, or they do not reach a resolution. The instability of the couplings of Viola Orsino and Olivia Sebastian, exclusion of Malvolio and Antonio from the festive resolution, and Feste's song towards the end raises doubt about the so-called happy ending of Shakespeare's comic play. Unlike the rest of the acts of Twelfth Night, the penultimate act seems hurried. So it seems that the writer was in a lot of hurry to give it a conclusion, and inconsistent in this characterization. Orsino, whom we have seen since the beginning of the play as deeply in love with Olivia, who talks about her as heaven walking on earth, switches his love from Olivia to Cesario, who has ready to kill a moment before in a fit of savage jealousy, driven by his love for Olivia. Not only does this reflect on Orsino's inconsistency, but also his violence and vehemence as a lover, since he claims to sacrifice the lamb that I do love. So, though all the resolutions do not take place, but we can say that this play ends with the three sets of marriages, and where all of them seem to be happy. Now, Feste's song, Feste the Fool, always sings songs and talks about merrymaking. So this song is about the importance of love in the world and the importance of the exchange of emotions. Feste's song about the passage of time at the end of the play is a of to the audience reminder to the audience that the holiday world of Twelfth Night is not perfect. It is full of troubles that reigneth every day and are a part of general nature and structure of life. According to the essay Twelfth Night, the politics of licensing, Veste's songs prove that the play's attempts to produce a semblance of cohesion prove illusory as the limitations and contrived impositions of the golden world come to the fore. The central issues, disguise and deception, inversion of gender roles, complex gender relations in patriarchal society, the class conflict and the marginalized character, together prove too complex to be accommodated convincingly within the comic form. So this is how the play ends. And this is the more of a thematic revision of the play. If you want, you can read all these books that have been given here, but if you just read the USOL book, that will also be enough. So now I will take some final questions that you might be having. I'm giving you 2 minutes for final questions. Then I move to the next unit. The next unit has small readings. You can read them yourselves. They are not major texts, but I'll just go on cursorily. So everyone, please ask your final questions. I'm giving you 2 minutes here. Yes, this is a good question that Sandhya has asked. Sir, in the play, homoeroticism is also depicted by the Antonio who likes Sebastian. Yes, that's a correct question. Homoeroticism is a very important uh, theme in this play. Maybe you will not get questions on that, but where men get attracted to men, women get attracted to women, and all that. So that is also one valid point here. Okay, so let's move on to the next unit, the final unit. Quickly, we can just go through it. I'll share the screen sometime. So this is the final unit, the fourth unit, the fifth unit. These are the background readings. You can read them and you can understand them carefully. It's about your background. You can use them for your answers. The summary is also given. You can easily read them and also go through them and understand. So it can be as a supplementary material for your answer writing, which you can read. And I will try to take 1 or 2 extra classes. You will be notified about that. This one we have missed 1 or 2 classes. I will try to take a few extra classes. Maybe 1 extra class would be enough for me to cover the rest of the portions. Any final questions you have? Please ask those final questions. Then I would like to conclude today's class and the subject. Just read the SOL book, cover your syllabus, read the summary well, and you will get good marks in the examination. Any final questions? Please put them up in the Q&A section. Okay, thank you then, all of you. All of you take care and have a good day. I don't think so there are any more questions to be asked. Thank you, all of you, and have a good day. Thank you.